everybody. Welcome to another edition of the BFF Show. I'm Brendan.
I'm Franco.
And Franco, it has been a while. We had a long hiatus. I don't think we have seasons in this show, if I remember correctly.
Oh, we have seasons. We're in our second season.
Okay, you're right. We're in the second season, but we didn't really announce that we were on a hiatus. We just kind of had one.
So if you watch network television, when a TV show gets really big, there's always this assumed winter break for them to reload. So I just kind of assumed that we're big enough now that our audience would know that we're going on the winter break and we're going to kick back in when the rest of the shows kick in. Mind you, we're a week late. My bad. But
my bad too.
So we're big time now. So we're on AMP Premiere. So we had the winter break and we're back.
So that was my fault. I think I messaged you and then I forgot, and then you, which is a good lead-in, had your giant 30-mile plus race this past weekend. And we were talking about before, so give me an update on how you're feeling right now, Franco.
I'm feeling great, actually. I feel pretty recovered. I was maybe sore for a couple of days. Besides that, I was fine.
What was the most challenging part of the race?
So the race itself was a living hell. I'll be honest. I would love to tell you that it was ran perfectly and we trained right and everything went well. It didn't. It was 0 degrees. The highest it got was 6 degrees. The terrain was frozen, so it actually had the snow melted a little bit, but then refroze in a cold snap. So it was really slick. Things did not go according to plan whatsoever. So the original plan was to knock out the 32 in one day and not mess around with nighttime or sleeping or anything like that. Unfortunately, around mile 14, Derek, who's my brother-in-law, who we haven't talked a lot about, it's not really safe to run the race by yourself and you have a partner. And so my brother-in-law very probably unwisely volunteered. And around mile 14, he fell on ice and definitely locked up his knee and everything else. So that was compounding the issues I was having. I sweat a bunch on the early one because we were running pretty fast. And so my base layer actually froze in my skin, which is a little not ideal. So around, I want to say 4 o'clock, we actually had to call it a day on the first day, have dinner, sleep, wake up in the morning, then finish the remaining 60 miles the next morning. And that was probably the worst because by that point, you're sore, the adrenaline's gone, and it's just a slog. But to Derek's credit, and mine in some ways, we slogged through. We finished the race. We finished all 32. We've already committed to doing it next year and finishing it one day because we're not going to let a race beat us. And we hit the fundraising goal. We hit $3,000. In fact, we hit $3,220.
Nice. So, congratulations.
Big success. Yeah. Really happy with that.
Now that you've done the race, what is the one thing or maybe a couple things that you know now to prepare for that you didn't know until you got there?
I will absolutely not train by running. It's pointless. I'll train with a lot of hiking and trekking and a lot of climbing stairs because a lot of it's just uphill. You would think Wisconsin's flat. You would in fact be wrong. The Kettle Moraine is the glacier trail and it's really, really hilly. And well, I did run 32 miles, and I did get my mile time down around 6 minutes. It mattered nothing on a hilly terrain with a lot of ice. So I would definitely train for that instead, maybe train to walk and kind of get my legs ready that way.
And so you raised the money. Remind me again, what was the charity for, Franco? Remind the audience.
Community Partnership for Youth, which is based in Seaside. They do a lot of great things for gang prevention and getting youth involved in educational opportunities, and I feel blessed for the opportunity to give back to them.
Very cool. Franco, congratulations. And I am very proud of you, and I'm impressed because this is something that not many people can do, and you committed to this thing. You made it work with all the other things that are going on in your life. You're a busy guy, and you took the time to train and make it right. And I know I would never be able to do it. My story from this weekend is I ran 2 days. I gave myself a break in between, 1 day in between. And then immediately after the second day of running, probably maybe a mile and a half, my lower back is killing me. And it has been painful. I've been laying on the floor to make myself feel better. So I can't imagine doing what you did because I am not going to the gym because I am afraid I will destroy my back more. It's hurting. So that's my physical. That was my physical activity report.
Gotcha. Well, everybody has to start somewhere. You just start flat on your back in your living room.
Sad, running on sidewalks that are flat. But the transitioning now to the NFL playoffs. Again, it's been a while, people. I'm sorry, but we are in the midst of the playoffs. Championship weekend is upon us. However, let's do a quick recap, Franco. I saw most of the Sunday games, not too much of the Saturday games, but we won't spend too much time. But did you get a chance to? I know you were racing, so you might. I don't think you saw much of this either.
No, I didn't see any Saturday. I did see the Sunday though.
All right, cool. So let's go breeze through Saturday. We read the recaps. We understand what's going on. So Saturday we had the Pats and the Titans. This was kind of I didn't care for this game at all. It was just obvious that Marcus Mariota and the Titans were not going to make it, and I think the Titans understood that because they fired their head coach. Mike McCarthy immediately the next day. He is gone. So any thoughts on this at all, Franco, as what appears now to be the Patriots maybe marching their way on to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, Titans, kind of what we thought would happen happens.
Yeah.
And Mularkey, who literally week before had the owner say that Mike Mularkey is our coach moving forward, probably wasn't paying attention to the fine text there, not saying for how long.
Yeah.
So I guess moving forward for 1 week. It was bound to happen. He didn't develop Mariota very well. I have no idea where we're going to go because a lot of the young coaches got snatched up. So we will see. As far as Patriots go, I'm not as confident. I think the Jaguars can and may pose a serious threat to them. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that during the preview because I think that's an interesting point. But we wound up with Eagles-Falcons. Falcons scoring only 10 points and night and day compared to their contest against the Rams, when I think that people assumed that this is the Falcons we always expected this year. They're back. Put in a terrible performance against the Eagles. Nick Foles and the Eagles moving on. Franco, what are your thoughts?
I mean, we live in a reality now that we have Nick Foles versus Case Keenum as our premier NFC quarterback matchup. But no, I think they played really well. The Eagles' defense was always going to be the thing they stood on, and they played really well as well. I think the Atlanta offense is sorely missing not Mike Shanahan. That's the dad. But the younger Shanahan Jr., Kyle Shanahan, they're sorely missing him. So I think that showed out in this game.
And then we moved to the Sunday games, which ended up being a lot more compelling. You had Jags Steelers. The Jaguars went up against the Steelers 14-0 in the first quarter. And sort of from that point on set the tone for the rest of that game. But I think because the fact that they got off to such a hot start really made it more compelling to watch the game, for me at least, because I was expecting the opposite to happen, where the Steelers would come in and blow them out. But it ended up where the Steelers made some questionable 4th-and-1 calls, doing a wide sweep at one point, which was ill-advised, and the Steelers were knocked out. Jags are in.
Yeah. I mean, the Jaguar defense is real, and Blake Bortles is better than people want to pretend he isn't. So, good on them, and it was a great game to watch.
It was fun, but that defense, I think, did get torched for 5 touchdowns from Ben Roethlisberger. So I think that, for me, while they're good, and granted that the last one, the 5th, was in garbage time, to Juju Smith-Schuster, but I do kind of look at that game and think, well, I think it was over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. Are they that good? And I guess we're going to find out on Sunday with the Patriots, but I don't know if they're as good as people think they are.
I think they're better than you think they are.
Okay.
And don't forget that their defense accounted for a lot of their own scoring. So it's all about that plus-minus turnover battle and things like that. And the Steelers have one of the best offenses in the NFL, bar none. So yes, they did put up 5, we'll say 4 touchdowns, but the defense also accounted for 3 of the Jaguars' scores. So plus or minus, it's 1 touchdown, really.
And then we wrapped it up with a insane Saints-Vikings game. Really insane with the last play where Stephon Diggs was, I don't even want to say if he was able to elude a defender, and I'm blanking on the defender's name, but essentially the defender just didn't tackle him and allowed a touchdown, which gave them the win. and then pandemonium because the NFL has a weird rule where you have to absolutely kick the extra point regardless. But they had spent maybe 10 minutes trying to clear the field because it was just insane coming back the way they came back. Is this the best comeback you've ever seen or the worst choke job you've ever seen?
I wouldn't call it a choke job, and I wouldn't even criticize the Saints safety that made the play. He's a rookie,
Yep.
and literally he's the reason why they're in the game. He intercepted a pick six earlier in that quarter. So if you listen to one, how do you not feel bad for the guy?
Oh, I feel
Played
bad.
well
I do feel
all
bad.
year.
Yeah.
And if you kind of watch the play, what had happened, what it seems like is that he was coming in too early, wanted to avoid the pass interference call, giving a first down, stopping the clock, and putting them in field goal range. So he tried to pull up, and then he tried to recommit, and by that time he'd already gotten too far with the momentum. It's trying to be that player that doesn't make the mistake that cost the game, but unfortunately, being careful, he cost them the game. So that sucks. It was an amazing play, though. It'll probably live in infamy. We'll see it forever. And it's a good chance that maybe the play that leads to the Vikings playing the first home Super Bowl ever, which would be pretty awesome. I do feel terrible for that guy, and I feel terrible for Breeze because Breeze has put together a hell of a season in which position in the run game, and heartbreaking.
Like you said, we now have the potential. This weekend is the Jeff Fisher Revenge Bowl between Nick Foles, Case Keenum. I can't take credit for that. I heard that on a Bill Simmons podcast and made me laugh.
Okay.
But it is truly the Jeff Fisher Revenge Bowl. Two cast-offs. These guys, if you and I made a bet, Franco, we should have gone to Vegas and put down a bet that the NFC Championship quarterbacks would be Foles and Keenum. We probably would be making a ton of money off of this bet right now. At this point, how do you even compare? Because Foles is a true backup. Keenum is a long-described journeyman who now all of a sudden has turned it on. And the Vikings can make plays, and the Eagles can lean on their run game. I think that this is going to be a really fun game.
I think it's going to be a great game, and for my prediction, I'm going to go with emotion. I think the home field advantage coming off of that huge win against the Saints is going to propel the Vikings in the Super Bowl.
I think I'm going to go with you, too. I'm going to predict the Vikings to win. I think that Case Keenum gets the advantage in this because Foles didn't have all the entire year, really. Granted, he did have about 4 weeks now with the first team, so he's not going to be terrible, but I think I give it to a more well-rounded team. I think that defense is scary for the Vikings. This defense is scary for the Eagles, too, but I think that Keenum is more adept at his offense to make that work. So I'm going to say that we're going to see the Vikings, Franco, for the first time. A team is going to host, a home team will be playing at the Super Bowl, which I think is going to be really cool. And then we wind up with a really interesting, this is a weird matchup, Franco, because it's the Pats and the Jaguars. And I know I said earlier that we're leading into a Patriots Super Bowl. I don't know if I'm right. I don't think I'm right because there's a big asterisk on whether or not this is going to happen because the Jaguars have been surprising. You get a Blake Bortles, Franco, that you're right, has been playing a hell of a lot better than he ever has in the previous early part of this season. And you have the Patriots who are really shaky on defense and offensively haven't really lit it up yet. This could be a big upset. If this happens, Franco, I think this, in a weird way, would be more exciting than a Super Bowl of the Vikings and Jags. If this is sort of the most interesting game right now. I think I'll still enjoy a Super Bowl that's Jaguars and Vikings, but the emotional level might not be there for me, and I'm talking for me personally.
Yeah, and you're forgetting one really important thing, especially as a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin, destroyer of Patriots' hopes and dreams, works for the Jaguars now. So, he's figured out a way to beat them with worse defenses.
Yeah.
Twice. And with a better offense on the Patriots side, a better defense. So, I think there's a good chance the Jaguars can beat the Patriots because the Patriots' offense has struggled and the Jaguars' defense is that good. The only thing I'm worried about is if the Patriots jump ahead early. So the Jaguars can stay competitive, can lean on Fournette and lean on defense. I think they win. If Tom Brady comes out, throws 2 touchdowns, I think the wheels really fall off.
I agree. I think that the big thing that the Jaguars have for them is that they can rush the quarterback with just 4 guys. They don't need to stack the deck. They can go with that 4. And that 4 is the same game plan that the Giants had when they successfully beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. They had that massive front four that just could get to the quarterback. I think this is gonna. I hope this. Ooh,
wow!
Somebody.
Snoopy was not good with your prediction.
No,
hey,
a big Pats fan.
She's mad. She thinks Pats are gonna win.
I disagree. I would yell at your dog if it was right here in my face.
Snoopy, the Pats are not. Oh, she's gone. Oh well. So no, I agree with you. I think the front four is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only X factor is that Belichick has found a way to win, and he has an entire week to game plan. So we'll see what happens.
You also have Rob Gronkowski, who's has a
dirtbag Rob.
Tendency to make insane plays and just bully over the middle. So we'll see. He's healthy-ish, and Tom Brady. The breaking news, Franco, right before it went on, is that he hurt his hand in practice today.
Yeah,
and they took X-rays. I don't think this is a nothing story to me. I don't think it matters. He's going to play even if his hand's halfway off his body. It's still going to be him playing. I'm going to. So Franco, what's your prediction on this? I don't want to say mine just yet.
I predict Jacksonville in a stunner by field goal.
All right, me too. I predict Jacksonville. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say by a touchdown. I'm going to say that this is the game that the Patriots defense gets fully exposed and taken advantage of. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see. And I think their offense might not be able to match up against that defense. So I think, Franco, we're going to get a Vikings-Jaguars, feel the excitement Super Bowl. And it's going to be weird because I don't think that anyone could have predicted that your premier teams would be Blake Bortles and Case Keenum. I think, what effect do you think this has, before we move on to the next topic, on ratings, if this is what it is? Because I think the average person, these are not two teams that excite the average person. And this is the typical group of people that draw and pump up those numbers. So if you got a Patriots-Giants, you get a West Coast, East Coast team, you typically get that bump in the ratings, especially with their name brands. But this is going to be the PR machine of the NFL is going to have to go into overdrive to get the casual viewer to invest emotionally in this game.
I mean, yes and no. The Super Bowl has become such an event in of itself that I don't even think it matters who plays. People watch the damn game just for commercials at this point.
That's true.
So I think the casual viewer will tune in just because of its Super Bowl. I mean, if you ask a random person who watched the Super Bowl who Tom Brady is, up until a couple of years, they might not have an answer for you. So I'm not sure it's driven by diehard fans as much as casual viewers. I do think you will see a stepping out of the diehard fans if they're huge Patriots fans, since that's a weird demographic of fan that isn't necessarily football savvy, and watch me generalize here, but is passionate. So we'll see.
I think America, if you are a fan of football and this is the matchup, get ready to prepare handouts for your friends and family that don't watch football so that they understand what the teams are, who are on the teams, and why they're there. Because that's going to be the biggest question for the moms of America that are just casual, like, who's this? What is this team? Who's Blake Bortles? Have all that ready. Get graphics, do a PowerPoint beforehand, because otherwise you're going to be answering those questions throughout the whole darn game. Franco, let's go into WWE. The big news coming out over the last couple of weeks was that WWE superstar Paige hurt her neck during a live event wrestling Sasha Banks. The rumor mill is that she has the same neck injury that prevented Edge from competing and that she will be forced to retire. The only comment that WWE has made is that she will no longer be a participant in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble coming up at the end of January. Franco, what are your thoughts if this is in fact the end for Paige's in-ring career?
It's tragic in a lot of ways because always had a lot of potential and always has had other things get in the way, be it drug use, be it a marriage to Alberto Del Rio, which has been disastrous. It included a drug-fueled fight in the middle of an airport. I think she'll go down as kind of your Brian Pullman, right? An unrealized potential, and I think she's done. I think she's definitely done, especially since the WWE's going to be very careful about this whole thing because they want to avoid an NFL situation where they're attributing to a player's death or a wrestler's death anyway. So I think she's done, and I think it's probably one of the better cases of someone that's never realized her potential.
I think you're right. I think the reason why WWE is not saying it now is because there's so much positivity around the fact that they've all gone all in on the first Women's Royal Rumble that I don't think they want to temper that excitement by announcing that one of their premier, and I believe she's a big merchandise mover as well, female wrestlers, is out forever. And I think it's similar to what happened with Daniel Bryan, where they kind of waited a little bit until after a pay-per-view, when he was off that pay-per-view, to make that announcement. Edge was immediately after WrestleMania. So again, it was like after the program was over, and after the main, as much as they could get out, then they made the announcement. So I think it's going to be a bummer of a Monday after the Royal Rumble. But I think maybe they can at least transition Paige into some sort of manager role, keep her Absolution faction that she's got going with the 2 NXT call-ups that they had. I think there's room for Paige still within the company, maybe even as a GM someday.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I think Paige has done enough damage to her legacy through all the issues she's had with the company. And again, her relationship with Alberto Del Rio, who's consistently and has always been very critical of WWE, will play a big role in that. I think as a wrestler, she's too valuable to lose. As just a stand-in manager, I think she's gone.
All right.
I think we'll see her do a Darren Drozdov. Droz, who was famous for breaking his neck in the ring, was kept around the company for about 8 years before they sent him off and said, best of luck to you. And they kept him there kind of as a token to say, he did hurt himself, we're going to say loyal to him, then eventually got rid of him. I think Paige will have a 4 to 5 year career with WWE in some way, but I think after that, she's gone.
And news also just broke that Roman Reigns is allegedly linked to a steroid ring. Franco, where do you fall on this?
I'm not shocked. He's already had 2 substance abuse pops for steroid stuff. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. Do I think that he'll lose time in the ring around programming? No. I think he'll beat this because it's hard to prove the chain of distribution and the purchase and everything else unless he was dumb enough to use his own credit card. Yeah. He's the golden boy. He's the golden boy. I think WWE has enough lawyers to kind of make this go away.
Yeah. And then before we wrap up, Royal Rumble prediction, Franco. Who do you think wins? And let's go with the women and the men. So let's start with the women first. Who do you think wins that Royal Rumble?
I'm going to go with I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I was going to say Paige, but now it's gone. Maybe a dark horse like Bayley, who turns and leads Absolution. We'll go with a really out of left field prediction, Bayley. What do you think?
I'm going to say Sasha Banks. I think maybe you get a heel turn Sasha against Bayley finally, and then you move on. I think the dark horse candidate for me is Ronda Rousey. There's rumblings that she is already at the WWE Performance Center, that she's been training. They maybe, because of Paige, maybe this is where they put Ronda because they feel like they need that extra star power. But I don't know if she wins it. I think they're moving toward an Asuka Ronda Rousey program. So maybe they eliminate each other in the Royal Rumble to kick off that WrestleMania program. So we'll see. What about the men's side?
I would have said Roman Reigns. I don't know. I feel like this is the hardest year to predict because the way the storylines have gone. I'm going to go with perhaps a Seth Rollins. Because you have a situation here where the Jason Jordan thing's going to play itself out at some point. You need to elevate a face, and if Reigns does get pinched for the steroid thing, who goes against Lesnar at WrestleMania? So maybe Rollins as a backup plan for the company.
I'm going to say Miz.
I would love that. That'd be the best thing ever, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But why do you think that?
I think because the timing works, because he's in a program with Reigns now. It could be where the WWE likes to occasionally do the swerve where you think that he's locked into this Intercontinental Championship program. He comes out with maybe a 28, 29, and then wins the whole thing, and then that becomes a story. And then maybe he goes back to SmackDown to challenge AJ Styles to rub it in to Daniel Bryan's face one more time. Maybe that's where we're going.
Interesting.
Because then that would still protect the Raw program. And then if you really aren't confident about Reigns, I'm factoring in the steroid story. If you're not confident about Reigns, it buys you some more time to build toward it without having to be caught up in the Royal Rumble part of it. Because you still have the Elimination Chamber before WrestleMania. So you could do a hot shot of Roman getting that belt off of Lesnar, or just build the program starting from there. So I would say Miz, and he's jumping to SmackDown.
I think that'd be awesome. And it isn't I mean, it's not unprecedented.
Yep.
We had Seth Rollins lose to Randy Orton the same day where he cashed in the Money in the Bank. So they have done something where the guy loses earlier in the night or in some form in the program, the Intercontinental title, and then somehow figures a way to win out at the end. So I think it'd be interesting to see. I hope it's The Miz, not you said that.
Franco, to wrap up the show like we always do, what did you learn today?
I learned that you think moms everywhere don't know who Case Keenum is, and I think that's a disservice to Case. What did you learn this week?
I learned that you are a real man's man, and I am a sad boy child who has a bad back from running on pavement. That's what I learned. For the BFF show, I'm Brendan.
I'm Franco.
Have a good one.
Peace.